can literally feel my teeth shifting. I'm so happy to see someone asking about the other long-term effects that I have from Stevens-Johnson syndrome, other than the sun sensitivity, if you want to call it a sensitivity. I have had 9 major episodes of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, with each one being worse than the one before. And I have had countless mild episodes. Every single one of these Stevens-Johnson syndrome reactions was another hit to my immune system. So if we're just talking on a systemic level, my entire body has been permanently affected by Stevens-Johnson syndrome. Doctors think that this repeated damage from Stevens-Johnson syndrome and then getting COVID in 2021 is why I now have 9 other diagnosed conditions. Actually, it's 10. I forgot. There was another one. Yeah, funny enough, I just remembered what the 10th one was a couple of days ago because I was telling somebody about it, and now I can't remember what it was again because it's such a mild condition that it's like an official diagnosis just to add to the list. Anyways, that's kind of exactly the point. The doctors think that these repeated Stevens-Johnson's reactions have destroyed my immune system and essentially allowed all of these other conditions to flare up. But I do also have some lasting effects from Stevens-Johnson syndrome itself. Because Stevens-Johnson syndrome creates lesions on the skin, when those lesions heal, they form scars. So I have a lot of scarring all over my body. As someone recently said to me, and I think this is really important to note, she is African American. I am Caucasian. She also survived Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and she is covered in scars all over her body. Very visible scarring. I had Stevens-Johnson syndrome all over my face multiple times. And while you could see the scarring if you were here in person, because of my skin tone, you can't visibly see the scars on camera like you can an African American person or any person with melanin in their skin. That rough bumpy patch is what the scarring on my face looks like, but don't let it mislead you because the skin is extremely sensitive. Some of the scarring is much more visible. This is my oldest scar. It was the first lesion to actually come up and stick, and it is always the first one to flare back up when I have another Stevens-Johnson syndrome reaction. In fact, if this scar starts to itch and burn, I know Stevens-Johnson syndrome is happening. I also have scar tissue in my eyes. My eyes don't produce moisture correctly. It takes a lot for me to actually cry. Usually they'll just water a little bit. And every single reaction is doing more damage to my eyes. So if you've seen Stella and her sclera lenses, I'm fully expecting to need those one day. But the damage to my eyes is actually just over the last few years. Like I said before, with each new episode, Stevens-Johnson syndrome spreads because it's attacking more mucosal membrane. But ever since I was 1 year old, when I had Stevens-Johnson syndrome, it always attacked the inside of my mouth first. And because of those repeated reactions, the entire inside of my mouth now is like paper mache thin. I can't eat a lot of food anymore because it's just too rough on the inside of my mouth, and it will literally make me bleed. I also now have gum recession, where the gums are actually receding back from the teeth, and weak gums in general, which cause my teeth to shift and hurt really bad. Some asshole got in my comments a few days ago and tried to make a comment about my teeth. He said, you can't be a vampire because vampires have straight teeth. The reason that my teeth right here are not straight anymore, and they were straight. My mom paid thousands of dollars for braces, appliances, all through middle school. But the reason that they have shifted is literally because of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, because it is destroying my gums. So shout out to the person who left that comment for picking on a disabled person about their disability. I have an awesome new dentist. He was so concerned about just how sensitive and brittle the inside of my mouth is that he only wants to do a cleaning once a year because he doesn't want to go in there with the tools and do any further damage. And I'm gonna throw one more long-term symptom out there. Gentlemen, y'all might not like this conversation, but I think ladies, you will understand what I'm saying. Stevens-Johnson syndrome attacks the mucosal membrane, and that's all we have down there. So I now have permanent scarring and extreme sensitivity, not in a good way, in that entire area. Moisture problems, sensitivity, pain, those are all normal for me now. Externally, thank God, because it can go internal, and that is a very big fear. I think I have about 15 doctors now. A few of them are research level doctors. A few of them are just the specialist in their field, like a rheumatologist, a geneticist. But several of them were doctors that I had to start seeing specifically to treat the long-term effects of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, because there are so many. And I am extremely lucky that I don't have more problems. Oh, it also made my toenails fall off. but they grew back.